Welcome to the course Mental Health and Well-Being. I am myself Dr. Anish, clinical psychologist, IIT Kanpur. Today we are discussing on the module 5, Advanced Emotional Skills and Boundaries. And you are all familiar with the term boundaries and emotional skills. As a human beings, we always experience these boundaries everywhere throughout our life. Taking an example of a country has a line of control, boundary is there. A village is having, a district is having, a state is having a boundary. All over the world, we try to identify how the people, with respect, validating the boundaries throughout the life. In every family, there is a boundary. If you are seeing that if you are having a property, in that property you maintain some kind of boundaries. Here we try to understand what exactly in a relationship, how to set a boundaries. That is very important to remember that without boundaries, if you are trying to maintain a relationship, it will be very difficult. The other party may encroach into the privacy of your space, which can differentiate, which can make difficulties throughout your life. So, boundaries are very important to remember, and how to establish and maintain boundaries, which is very essential for protecting your mental and emotional well-being. Now, we will go into the deep how we can keep these boundaries in a better way, and what are the ways in which you need to be aware about the boundaries, what are the stages of boundaries. So, let us go into deep discussion about how the boundaries are influencing our emotional and in our relationship issues. So, understanding boundaries in relationship is very important. So, what are the personal boundaries and how do you define boundaries? Boundaries are defined what is acceptable and unacceptable in relationships. And boundaries are not walls, but rather it is a clear markers of self-respect and self-awareness. This is very important. It is not making you wall. I should not cross that one, or I should not maintain proper cutoff from the other party. It is not like a wall, but it is a mutual respect, self-respect and self-awareness that I should respect the other party. I should respect, I should validate the other person's private space. And that is very important in every relationship, especially in marital, couple or any kind of a relationship, even in professional life, that is very important. Here we try to discuss about, we are trying to understand more about what are the types of boundaries. There are emotional boundaries, physical boundaries and mental boundaries. Emotional boundaries, it means you protect feelings and emotional well-being. Example, in a family, emotional boundary is setting limits on criticism or expectations. And coming back to our own situations, especially a student avoids sharing personal issues with a classmate, not to gossip. I do not want to share with this particular person, because I know that after that sharing with him, he will be communicating with multiple people. That can cause some kind of defamation in my life, or it will be like a kind of it will be having a lot of negative repercussions in my life. So, understanding that situation, the student try to understand emotional boundaries are very important, and it should not be crossed, it should not be violated. And physical boundaries is the second thing, where define personal space and touch preferences. For example, in a working environment, person will identify that separating person and professional life. Coming back to our own situations, a student politely requests that others not to sit on their bed in the hostel room, not take without the permission of my consent. The third one is like a mental boundaries. In mental boundaries, respecting thoughts, opinions and beliefs. Example can be during a heated discussion, a student says, I respect your view, but I differ. And this is a very polite way of expressing or defining your boundaries, communicating personal limits and needs. And here we try to understand how to set and communicate healthy boundaries. That is very important. How to set. We all know that we need boundaries, we need space, we need our own freedom, but limiting or setting that healthy boundaries is very important. How to communicate to the others, what are the ways in which I need to maintain my boundaries. First thing is to identify your needs. Begin by recognizing your own needs and limits in various relationships. What makes you feel uncomfortable? Where do you draw the line? A club member realizes weekly meetings are affecting academics and steps back from some responsibilities. And it is again a kind of a personal boundary where you are identifying your needs and you are trying to tell to the other party that I need to keep my own space in a proper way to manage my day-to-day activities. Second thing can be communicate clearly. Express your boundaries assertively. Use I statements to convey your feelings and expectations without blaming others. A student tells their roommate, I need quiet time after 10 p.m. to prepare for exams. This is very important. Using I statements, because I am thinking this way and my thought or my perception is like this and I want to do these things. And I statement is very important, and even you may be hearing it in assertive training how to say I statements, and this is very important. Nobody has the right to tell me or tell you that you should think like this, you should act like this. It is up to me that I need to take a decision, I need to conceptualize a reality in this particular way. So, using I statement is very important to communicate clearly. And third thing can be enforced consistently. Uphold your boundaries firmly and consistently. Show others that you are serious about respecting your limits, setting a standard for how they should interact with you. For example, a TA informs the professor they will not work weekends unless pre-planned. That is also very important. Enforcing consistently in your work life, in your professional relationship, in your personal relationship. Without consistently enforcing the realities, the other party may not be able to understand it properly in a expected manner. And the final thing is to prepare for resistance. That is also very important. Anticipate that some people may resist or test your boundaries. Stay firm and reiterate your needs calmly but resolutely. Example, a fresher learns to say no to repeated requests from seniors without guilt. That is also very important. In that way, we can communicate healthy boundaries with others. Now, we are understanding what is personal boundaries. As I said, there are types of boundaries, and how do you define personal boundaries? It is very important to define. The way in which you are defining a particular thing, accordingly your conceptualization will differ, and people will try to respect you, will try to understand what exactly when you are saying that personal boundaries are. Personal boundaries are the limits we set to protect our physical, emotional and mental well-being. There are a lot of things define where we end, others begin, safeguarding our autonomy and individuality. So, as we discussed, there are types of boundaries. In types of boundaries, basically physical, personal space, emotional space, then mental beliefs and opinions, and material possessions. There are a lot of theories behind these boundaries, especially Bronfenbrenner theory. You may be aware about that one, ecosystems theory. If someone is interested, you can go deep into the theories of ecosystems theory. There he discussed a lot of layers in that boundaries, in this layers in the space. That is also very important to remember. What are the personal spaces and what are the couple space, and outer layer is family space, and the final space or final layer, the fourth layer can be considered as a layer of social space, and each space is having a different responsibilities, and the people who are included in the personal space, social space or the family space or the couple space has the different needs and responsibilities. And if someone is interested to read about this ecosystems theories of Bronfenbrenner, you can go into the deep in the net, or you can read in the books which is available in the reference in the slides. So, when you are maintaining a boundaries, what are the benefits in your mental health? That is very important to remember. Why we need these boundaries? whether these boundaries contribute anything positively to my personal life, in my personality, in my mental health or mental well-being. Definitely it is having a proper effect or a well-being, it can have a influence in our well-being. One important thing is it will reduce the stress. Unless and until if you are not able to maintain a proper boundary, it will create your stress. Suppose if someone is asking you, can you do this for me? If I am not having that much of time, but at the same time I am trying to help him, then that can affect in somehow my personal work life balance, or it can affect my own performance in my academics. So, one important thing is when you are keeping a boundary in a proper way, it can reduce the stress, that is very important, and it can prevent burnout. Suppose a person is doing whatever others are saying in a company, in an institute, in a classroom, if some of your friends or colleagues are telling you to do this, do that, and whenever you complete, when you are trying to satisfy others and accepting whatever demands they are asking for you, and if you are doing that one, that can have an effect on your personal life. It will be burning out, you will feel some kind of suffocation, because I am doing so and so lot of things which is other than my responsibilities, or other than demanding from my own role in this particular institute, role in this particular institution. So, I will be doing lot of things other than what is expected to do. So, this can cause burnout, it is a kind of suffocation, I feel very drowsy, I feel anger outburst, emotionally I will be draining down. So, try to maintain these boundaries, and it can help you to prevent burnout. And finally, it can enhances your self-esteem. Many people will think that if I am saying no to boundaries, if I am assertively insisting on the person who is demanding on me that I need to do this, I need to do that, I am saying that I will not, or I am using I statement saying that I may not be able to help you, I am respecting you, but I can differ. So, when these kind of communications are there, you feel that, so you may have a conscious belief that sometimes maybe you feel that I lose that friendship, I lose that connection with the particular person, but it is not a reality. It brings you some kind of self-respecting, because you are respecting your own boundaries, reinforces self-worth and autonomy, leading to increased self-respect and self-esteem. What are the consequences of poor boundaries? That is also very important. When you are not maintaining proper boundaries, so suppose if your boundaries are very poor, what will be the effect of that thing? That is very important to remember. One thing is you feel overwhelmed. Without boundaries, you may feel constantly overwhelmed, leading to exhaustion and decreased productivity. So, a friend continuously message late at night even after being asked not to do. So, it can affect, or without boundaries it will be affecting your personal life. And a roommate uses your items without asking, or a professor assigns tasks during a student's declared break time. It will have an effect whenever you are not properly maintaining these boundaries. A resentment, second thing can be allowing others to take your advantage of you, can foster resentment and frustration, damaging relationship. Loss of identity, consistently prioritizing others' needs over your own can lead to a loss of personal identity and self-worth. So, these three things are consequences of poor boundaries: overwhelm, resentment, or loss of identity. So, try to overcome this kind of poor boundaries consequences, maintaining proper boundaries, while maintaining proper boundaries. And as we discussed earlier, how effective communication for boundary settings. I statement: express your feelings and needs without blaming others. I feel uncomfortable when you do like this. Or again you can say, I have said I am not okay with late messages, please respect that. And again you can say gracefully, saying to someone, thanks for thinking of me, but I can't commit to another club right now. I feel uncomfortable when people enter my room without knocking. or again standing firm, I have made my decision and I need you respect that. And these are the ways in which you will be using I statements. And second thing can be clear and specific. Avoid ambiguity. State your boundaries clearly and specifically to prevent misunderstandings. Sometimes people will say like there are confusions whether I need to say yes or no. So, very important to remember there should not be any ambiguity while communicating, saying be clear and specific. And third thing can be maintain respectful tone, that is also very important. Communicate with the respect. Even when asserting your boundaries, this encourages a more positive and respectful response. And this is very important to remember while you are communicating with the colleagues or your friends or your family members, the tone, maintaining a respectful tone is very important. Suppose you are talking to a person, one person is there, or with your family, there are 3 people are there. There your pitch should be like an appropriate manner. The speed while you are communicating with the other party, the speed should be in appropriate manner. Sometimes you need to be careful about the words which you are using. That is also very important in communication. We know that usually we know that while communicating with a child, your tone will be different, your words will be different, and articulating that words into sentences will be different. While you are communicating with a professor or a faculty, your tone will be different and your voices will be different, and even articulating the sentences will be different. The same way in every situations, especially in public gathering, while dealing with your friends, while dealing with your parents, even with the parents, with the mother, with the father, your tone will be different, your speed will be different, the pressure of speech which you are providing to the other party will be different. So, try to identify how to maintain a respectful tone according to the situations, according to the meeting. And if you are not able to maintain that kind of boundaries in a proper way, it is showing that you need more training in effective communications. And these are some of the challenges where you are feeling that these settings, while setting the boundaries, you feel that while I am being this kind of maintaining this kind of boundaries, it can have a lot of negativity, it can affect me negatively in my daily life. So, how to overcome this kind of difficulties? First thing is fear of rejection. Acknowledge your fear of rejection and remind yourself that healthy relationship require mutual respect. That is also very important. And the second thing can be guilt about saying no. Suppose if you are feeling that, challenge the belief that you must always say yes and yes only. Prioritize your well-being and recognize the value of self-care and how to say no gracefully. For example, thanks for thinking of me, but I can't commit to another club right now. And again, expressing discomfort. I feel uncomfortable when people enter my room without knocking, or again I am feeling difficulties, or I have made my decision and I need you to respect that. And guilt about saying no. Some people feel that how can I say no to the other party? If I am saying no, that relationship will break. Sometimes he will not come to me or she will not come to me. If I am saying no to my family members, that will affect me. There is again an example, very important example which you need to practice throughout your life. For example, if someone is asking you, can you lend me a 10,000 rupees. Suppose if you are having 10,000 rupees as your monthly income, in that 10,000 rupees you may be having a proper financial management. Accordingly, you will be managing daily life. For within that 10,000 rupees, you need to pay 2,000 rupees for your daily purchasing and vegetables or other things for your family. Maybe 2,000 rupees you need to pay for your children education or the daily traveling purposes. Again, the 6,000 rupees are like a balance in your hand. With that 6,000, you may be having some kind of personal in the sense your family daily living purpose, you need some kind of expenditure, and for that maximum you need more than, or maximum to more, you have only 6,000 rupees. With that money you are managing your day to day life. Suppose if one of your friend is coming and asking that, no, can you provide me some 5,000 rupees. So, automatically you know that you do not have that much money to give him, and again you need to say him no, that you are communicating properly with, as we discussed in the earlier slide, with a proper tone, telling that I do not have that much of money as a saving in my hand to give you or borrow you or to lend you. So, when if you are communicating properly with that person at that particular time, he may be able to understand that okay, he is not having that much money in his hand now to help me, but later I can. Again maybe after 2 months he may come again and asking you again, can you provide me 3,000 rupees for lend. Again you need to communicate in the proper way, because he is asking the same thing, can you give me, can you provide me 5,000 reduced into 3,000. The same way, whenever you are giving 3,000 to him, again you will have a, like what we discussed in the earlier slides, you feel like a stress, because you need to find it out 3,000 rupees to manage your day to day activities, daily living. Maybe he will be convincing at that particular moment, he may go back again, after some times he may again come back to you, he will say, can you provide me, can you lend me 1,000 rupees. Still you need to be assertive, you need to tell him that no, I will not be able to help you. If I am giving you 1,000 rupees, I feel lack of financial stability in this month, I will not be able to manage my day to day activities properly, needs of my family properly. Maybe after some times again he go back and come back and ask you, can you give me 500. Still you need to communicate with him with a proper tone, with a proper articulation of words into sentences, saying that no, I will not be able to do this thing, because I have my own needs prioritized and I have my own difficulties where I need to manage with this particular amount of money. And social pressure is the last overcoming challenge. How to overcome challenge in social pressure? Be aware of societal expectations and norms, but stay true to your own values and needs when setting boundaries. That is very important. Standing firm, respecting the cultural nuances, that is also very important to remember. And respecting the cultural norms or respecting the social things, respect personal space in a shared dorms, especially for international dealings with others or with your colleagues, if there are someone, even in a college setting, if you are having international students, try to respect them, try to respect personal space in shared dorms. Avoid forcing participation in group activities. Some students value solitude, that is also very important. Understand that silence or non-participation can be a form of boundary. So, try to away from social boundaries. And here we try to see what are the practical strategies for maintaining boundaries, especially self-reflection, consistent enforcement, or seek support. These are very important practical strategies for maintaining boundaries. Self-reflection, regularly assess your own boundaries to ensure they still serve your needs and values. Whether someone is encroaching, someone is violating. Suppose India is having a line of control in boundary, Pakistan is trying to encroach those boundaries, India will react. The same way every state, every district, every panchayat, even every village, the same and in the same way in our family, you may be having a property, you are maintaining it properly with the boundaries, and if someone is encroaching that boundaries, later on stage what will happen? It can affect your own privacy, your own law, it can cause like a physical loss, even mental loss, even financial loss. So, self reflection about whether someone is crossing my boundary or not. Even in relationship, especially, suppose if you are committed to in a relationship, and if you feel after some times I feel difficulty in managing my relationship, my partner is encroaching, he is interfering in my personal boundaries, because as an Indian citizen or as a male or as a female, I have a right, at the same time I have a lot of obligations, whether if a party is encroaching, if he is violating my constitutional right or not. If such situation is there, we need to be aware about, self-reflect about our own difficulties, and consistent enforcement. Enforce your boundaries consistently to demonstrate your commitment to self-respect. And finally, seek support. Talk to trusted friends, family or therapist for support and guidance in a boundary settings. Many of us, whenever there is, you are aware about there is a boundary violations, seeking support is very difficult, because you feel that if I am asking to someone, that can have a kind of a negative impact on me. So, try to think that, like consider it as a value. Suppose you are helping others, if someone is asking you some help, you definitely, if you are having a time, if you are having that resources with you, you will definitely try to help them without any hesitance. And try to remember that seeking help is also a value, because you have the right, because you always tried to help others. So, the same way, whenever you feel that I need some help, seeking help is very important. Nowadays, people do not feel that whenever they are not able to manage a particular situation, particular relationship issues, they will not feel that I need to go for a help. This is very important. Talking to a friend, talking to a family, or talking to a therapist, even a psychologist, they will be able to understand, help you to cope with the difficulties of the boundaries, and help you to maintain a proper boundary. So, seeking help is also, I need to insist on everyone to seek help in an appropriate manner, in an appropriate time is very important in our life. And here we are trying to understand managing boundaries for a healthy relationship, and what boundary violations look like. Suppose if a person is insisting, suppose you are having a friend with you and he is always engaging, always you feel that it is a kind of care, sometimes it is a kind of support, sometimes you feel that he is more possessive about me. Many of the students communicated that, no, I am having a good friend, but he is always possessive. When he or she is using that possessiveness, while getting to the deep understanding, that definitely I can understand many of these situations. The other party is crossing the boundaries, what you need to wear, what you need to eat, or where you want to go, up to what time you need to spend there. Like for everything there is a control. There is always, as I said, there is a Bronfenbrenner's theory of ecosystems theory. Suppose the first round, which we call the personal space, where I have the right to live, I have the freedom to wear what I want, I have the freedom, I have the option for selecting what I need to eat. So, if someone is encroaching all these things and reinforcing me or enforcing me to do this, do that in this particular way, you do, your hairstyle should be like this and you should not do this, should not do that. So, this kind of things, which is a violation of a boundary, the other party is crossing the personal freedom or personal space of yours, and how to respond them assertively, and the role of cultural norms play in shaping our perception of boundaries. That is very important. Cultural norms play shaping our perception of boundaries. In Indian culture, especially while you are living with a separate entity, nowadays it is again become a nuclear family system, but at the same time, in reality, the culture, social culture of a joint family system is there. Everywhere people will inquire about you, they will encroach into the boundaries, they will ask, they will interfere. Sometimes you will be staying in Kanpur, but your family will be in Kerala, or sometimes your family will be in Mumbai, but each and every moment they want to know that what you are eating, what you are wearing, when you are waking up, where you are going, up to what. Even there is that kind of cultural norms are there, but at the same time you need to check whether my mother, whether my dad, if they are calling me more than 10 times a day, or whether they are encroaching my personal boundaries, whether they are, if some of your friends, sometimes they may be encroaching your family space, whether it is an encroaching or they are violating the boundaries. It is very important to ascertain whether it is a boundary violation, whether it is a care, whether it is a support, whether it is a mutual respect. We need to explore it more. For that, these readings will help you. Manning has a good study in 2016 published in that article. And these are the ways in which you can understand what does a boundary violation looks like. Ignoring your limits or excessive demands or disrespecting personal space. And these are the ways in which you will be able to experience the boundary violations. For example, boundary violations often involves others disregarding your personal limits and dismissing your feelings. This can manifest as someone constantly interrupting you, invalidating your emotions or pushing you to do things you are uncomfortable with. Sometimes excessive demands also can occur. Boundary violations can also take the form of excessive demands on your time and energy. This may involve a colleague who constantly asks for help with their task, a friend who always expects you to be available, or a family member who monopolizes your schedule. And again, the final thing is violation can occur when others disrespect your personal space or opinions. This can include someone invading your physical space without consent, making you assumptions about your beliefs or disregarding your perspective in conversations. Now, we will try to explore more about responding to boundary violations. Reinforce your boundary is very important. When faced with a boundary violation, it is essential to politely but firmly reinforce your boundary. Clearly communicate your limits and expectations to the violator. Be direct and assertive, but avoid being aggressive or confrontational. This is also very important. Direct and assertive. Limit interactions. If necessary, limit your interaction with the violator. Create distance between yourself and the person who consistently disregards your boundaries. This may involve reducing contact, avoiding certain situations, or ending the relationship altogether. And we discussed earlier, if your boundaries are repeatedly ignored, seek support from trusted friends, family, or therapists. Discuss your experience and feelings with someone who can provide guidance and encouragement. So, this is very important, how to understand the assertiveness. In day to day life, we are aware about that I need to be more assertive. So, how can you be assertive? Many people want to become assertive, but sometimes they feel difficulty in being assertive using I statements, as I said. For example, I feel, according to my perceptions, according to me. When you are able to communicate assertiveness, there is always a feeling that you are feeling that I will be avoided from the group, I will be avoided, separated from the family environment. So, I will lose that companionship. So, such kind of fear can contribute while expressing confidently our assertiveness. And balance between extremes also very important. Assertiveness strikes a balance between passivity and aggression. It is not about being a pushover or a bully, but rather about standing up for yourself in a respectful and a constructive manner. It is about advocating for yourself without infringing upon the boundaries of those around you. And these are the terms which we already discussed, how to say no gracefully, or how to be expressing discomfort, and how can you become standing firm. So, the very important thing which we discuss next is the impact of culture on boundaries. Close knit relationship is there in our Indian culture, especially people will be very close to each other, they will self respect, they will monitor everything, and some cultures encourage close knit relationship with fewer defined boundaries. In those cultures, sharing personal information and relying on others for support is common and expected. And again, personal space and independence. Other cultures emphasize personal space, independence and autonomy. In these cultures, individuals tend to value privacy and maintain clear boundaries in their relationships. Even in the culture differences, understanding culture differences is crucial in workplace and families. It involves recognize that people from different cultural backgrounds may have varying expectations regarding boundaries. And again, we are discussing in this particular slide What is self-care and boundaries? Both of them are interconnected. When you are having a proper boundaries, it is always help you to maintain a self-care, and whenever you are having a self-care, you will be respecting your boundaries. This is very important to remember. Taking care of your physical, emotional and mental well-being includes rest, hobbies, exercise, mindfulness and healthy relationships. And boundaries were limits we set to protect our well-being and personal space, helps in maintaining mutual respect and avoiding burnout. As we discussed, what are the importance of self-care and boundaries in our mental well-being? One important thing is it prevents stress and emotional exhaustion. As we know, as a human being, we all are having tensions. When these tensions are increasing, it can cause stress. When stress is there, and sometimes it is up to the threshold level, or it is beyond the threshold level of your capacity to hold, it can cause distress. Sometimes this distress can cause anxiety. Even anxiety, as you know, clinically when there are different stages. So, suppose if you are maintaining, if you are able to maintain a proper self-care or a proper boundaries, it can reduce the stress and also it can reduce the emotional exhaustion. And what are the other importance in self-care and boundaries? The major thing is improves relationships by setting expectations. When you are having a proper boundary within your relationship, especially in couple relationship, especially with the professional relationship, in a personal relationship, if you are able to maintain a proper boundaries, it will definitely improve your relationship. It is a bridge where you feel my relationship is improving, because we both are maintaining a proper boundaries. The other party is respecting my personal space, personal freedom. So, that is why I am engaged or I am being satisfied in this particular relationship. And third thing can be it enhances self-respect and confidence. Suppose you are working in an environment where the other parties are respecting your privacy, they are respecting your boundaries without encroaching you or without disturbing you, you feel a kind of self-confidence, self-respect that I am part of this one, I am doing this particular role in this particular institution or in this particular group or in this particular club. So, the same way we can feel kind of a self-respect and self-confidence while you are maintaining self-care or a boundaries. And finally, it encourages a balanced lifestyle and a personal growth. Whenever you are feeling that kind of a proper boundaries are maintained, it will enhance your personal growth and balanced lifestyle. Personal growth in the sense you feel properly a good sleep or a good appetite, your mood will be balanced. Sometimes you feel lot of energy to do the things which you like, which you want, or which is already you are committed. And what are the simple strategies to practice boundaries? These are more of a practical skills which you needed to keep in your mind while maintaining a proper boundary. One thing can be self-care. What are self-care? Prioritize to say no when needed, engage in activities you enjoy, and this is very important. This is self-care. And the second thing can be setting boundaries, communicate openly, set digital limits. For example, I am part of this institute or part of this WhatsApp group. For time being, from 10 p.m. to morning 6 a.m. I will not open this particular group and see the things. For example, this is morning 10 to 5 o'clock is my working time. Other than the office time, I will not be opening my official email. I will send mail regarding my official work. I will keep family time. And these are the boundaries where you communicate openly or set digital limits or respect your own needs. And the third thing can be respecting others. Listen actively when somebody is telling, somebody is differing from your opinions, respect that one, acknowledge personal space and honor commitments. That is also very important in simple strategies to practice boundaries. And here we are trying to see some of the practical applications, boundary setting at work, defining work hours, saying no to extra tasks, respectful communication. Work hours, I will respond to emails between 10 a.m. as I said to 6 p.m. only. Saying no, I can't take another student this semester. Can we discuss workload balance in tomorrow meeting? And saying no to extra tasks, learn to say no additional tasks or responsibilities when your workload is already overwhelming. Prioritize your task and delegate when possible to prevent feeling overworked and stressed. And finally, maintain a respectful communication with colleagues and supervisors. Clearly articulate your needs and expectations and address any boundary violations promptly and professionally. And these are the summaries where we discussed about the last few minutes. First, recognize and setting personal boundaries is essential for fostering healthy relationships, maintaining emotional well-being and creating a balanced life. Understanding boundary violations, responding assertively and respecting cultural differences are key aspects of active boundary setting. Now that you have gained insight into boundaries, take the next steps to apply this knowledge in your daily life. Start by identifying areas where you need to establish clearer boundaries. Practice assertive communication, learn to say no gracefully and seek support when needed. Remember, setting boundaries is an ongoing process that requires self-awareness, courage and commitment. By prioritizing your well-being and respecting the boundaries of others, you can create more fulfilling and meaningful connections in all areas of your life. Embrace the power of boundaries to live a more authentic and empowered life. These are some of the references where you will get more insightful thoughts about this particular topic, how the boundaries are affecting or boundaries are part of our life and how to maintain them with a proper respect and value. And if someone is interested to go through these references, go into deep and we will have a more discussion in the further classes. Thanks for listening for this particular topic and engaging actively. Thank you so much.